Hello and welcome. In 2019 I recorded a training day at KDF Manchester. The guys were training with all manner of weapons including Sabre. In this video I'm chatting with Phillip Winslow, a passionate Sabre enthusiast from Manchester Historical Fencing Club. This review video is not a critical assessment of individual fencers, but is hopefully an informative and discussion prompting look at sparring techniques and training practices. So let's jump into the review.
Yeah, we're gonna miss that bit.
He's very springy, his B.
Oh, you just don't ever show the back of your head.
Yeah.
It's just...
So opening moves here. A, he's got sort of like a traditional Sabre stance, hasn't he?
Yeah, more late 1800s.
I don't do much Sabre myself. It's mainly longsword. Oh, that would look quite good there.
That's a little bit Dussack flavour, really, wasn't it? Which normally with Sabre, we'd pass forward, keeping the front foot, dominant leg to the fore at all occasions. But he's passed over with his left foot and sort of run in to get quite a large cut at A. Right, okay. So B is cut in at the leg. A has withdrawn the leg and returned a cut over the top, which has been blocked with a hanging guard.
So that is the strange one there, isn't it? The Sabre on the...
Yeah.
Is that the Dussack?
That's more like Dussack, yeah. You don't normally go for that with Sabre. And it's fair enough if it's a good resting guard. I think maybe he's trying to convince Liam into coming in and attacking, because he's leaning forward and sort of... It's not quite come and get my head, but you can see what I mean. It's not the sort of guard that you'd want to do too close, because it doesn't guard anything. So whether it's, come on, here's a juicy target, come on. Try and tempt him into doing something. So we'll see what happens next.
So B's trying to entice him and then hoping to be able to get him with his speed.
Yeah. Okay, so he's run in there. Like I said, in with the left foot, which you don't normally do with Sabre. But he's expected a large cut to the head, and he's put up in like a hanging guard to catch it as he's coming in and return a cut. There you go. So in with the big cut. There you go.
I noticed that at the beginning. I love the way A has slashed down to the whole torso of B. I mean, that would be a devastating cut if it was for real.
Oh, yes. A has had to block quite heavily the hit that he's then received. He's not expected his opponent to come all the way through. With Sabre, you especially sort of British Sabre in the 1800s, you'd expect sort of an attack riposte pattern, almost like a little tennis game going. A volley will start going rather than your opponent coming in and in and in and in.
Mm. And we'd say at this point that we actually know B is from KDF Manchester. This is James, and the chap in green is Liam, and he's from your club, which is Manchester Historical Fencing.
Indeed.
And so Liam A actually specialises in Sabre, and James is a really good longsword competitor. Okay, let's carry on then.
Come on. Go on.
I don't know who it was. James that hit the floor then, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's a bit of a overcooked hit. Oh,
But
nice.
that was a really good, so the knee, right knee.
Yeah, you can see Liam tried to get high octave guard. He doesn't quite make it in time though.
Maybe he was put off by the longswords.
Nah. See that he tried, but B's cut was lower than expected. He just didn't get there in time.
Right.
Struck him on the leg.
You can see his face through that mask. He's so fed up about that one.
Oh, the engaging guard.
Another one. And he lost. I'm actually going to show the cuts to the viewers, just in case they don't know what a 1, 2,
Because no one will
3.
know what. Yeah, the British system from the early 1800s has this sort of system of cuts 1 to 7. Tend not to think of cut number 7 because it's cut straight down from the top, but it has its place. It's very useful. I think Liam will make use of it later. It's one of his favourite feints. It's cut 7, and then as your opponent withdraws and brings the sword up to guard, this cuts straight down to the head. You take the arm. So. So Liam likes cutting and then trying to get a cut 3 in at the opponent's arm once they've taken that cut.
And that's because A prefers doing that, does he? You've sparred with him many a time, and that's what he likes to do.
I think it's something from Ferdinand. I know that he does like things like Hope, Lonnergan and Ferdinand, sort of late 1700s gladiators. Sort of sports duelists of the day. And a lot of them wrote some interesting manuscripts, and he does quite like them on the sort of the small sword and the broadsword. And they have some interesting tricks in them.
Right.
He was doing that. Cut 7, a cut 3 to the arm, or a cut 7 and a cut 6 at the arm to try and get it on the side. He was doing that one session we were doing, and one of the sports fencers who was in the, because we at the sports fencing place in Chadderton, came over and went, "Oh, we do that too." It's like, do it again.
So your club, there's is it British fencing that they do there? Is it Olympic fencing?
Yeah, Olympic sports fencing.
Right. So
they do, I think, Sabre and épée. Sabre and épée is what they mainly do.
And how much of a crossover is there in styles? Or
Enough for us to really annoy them.
right.
So to them, all our footwork is wrong. But to us, their footwork is wrong. In fact, Roworth himself mentions in the beginning of his manuscript about how those who've done a lot of small sword, they might have a very large lunge, which is no doubt useful, except from if you're outside and it's muddy.
Yeah.
So all of our lunges are really small compared to these amazing lunges that they can do. But if you ever pick up a sports sabre, it weighs 100 grams, 200 grams. It's very little. It's amazing how light they are.
I've got some foils when I was doing rapier, and there's nothing in them at all.
It doesn't work with them.
Yeah.
Rapier just doesn't work with a foil because there's no feel behind them, no weight to them. They're amazing for what they do.
Yeah.
But you can't get a system made for something different to work for them.
So do they leave their legs wide open because their target is torso and head into it, nothing else?
It depends. The épeists, everything is a target. So you get these amazing lunges they do, come in very high and they drop all the way down and get the other person on the toe. But then it's like, well, it's a bit difficult getting out of that lunge.
Yeah. But because they run a microsecond ahead of the opponent, they've won.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And there's no need to ensure that you can get out of there alive. So you can do things that you wouldn't necessarily do. It's almost like fighting a suicidal opponent. But amazing, and such a level of fitness as well. They're just good fun.
I imagine they ruin the knees. More so than we do in HEMA, unless we get hit with something hard. But
Yeah. Oh, undoubtedly, like that's going to haunt you.
Yeah.
Though saying that, there's a couple of fairly old people doing the sports fencing who've done it for years.
Really?
And they're still up and doing it, yeah.
Oh.
I think it's all about taking it carefully. Something that you can see in there that both combatants were doing, and I recognise it because it's something I do wrong all the time. Watch where the feet point. They're not... If you're stepping forward in Sabre, stepping forward with the front foot moving first, you know. So you see there, straight away, you're stepping forward with the foot sideways. Ideally, when the knee bends, it should bend directly over the toe. Because otherwise, if you're at a twist, you're gonna damage your knee. You're gonna pop it out. You're gonna cause issues.
Yeah, so it's that bit where stretching your knee over your big toe.
Yeah. So it's just trying to keep the toe straight forward, the foot nice and straight, and not landing on it sideways. You can cause yourself a bit of an injury. And I admit, I start off with the best of intentions, and very quickly, it goes wrong.
So do you always know by the end of the night that you've done a good session?
By how badly everything aches. If my knee hurts, I've done something wrong. But if the back of my legs hurt and my knee doesn't, everything has gone well.
I must say at this point, a picture I'm not going to show you is one when we used to train in Marple and we sparred together. And I'm not sure whether we were doing Sabre or something, but you managed to get me on the backside. So I don't know how I did it. And I've got this beautiful bruise on my bum.
The mind boggles.
I'm not showing it. I'm not going to show the viewers either, but it's purple and all sorts. It's a gorgeous picture. But yeah, I will get my own back one day. I don't know how.
You already have. You've hit me in the knee with a Montante.
Oh, did I?
Yes. I remember that.
And you still agreed to come here? Well,
I make a lot of poor decisions on Friday nights, I gotta say.
the footwork I've not been watching, actually. So, yeah, that's quite interesting picking that up.
It's a different form of sabre than I do myself. So like I say, I prefer with the early 1800s stuff, you keep your arm straight out as possible. And every cut is made, well, not every cut, but you cut from the wrist with little moulinets to try and avoid large cuts that, if somebody dodges, can overpower and off into the floor. So the idea is that you'd do all these sort of small moulinet cuts, and if your opponent then cuts at you, you just take yourself entirely out of the way with a full step back. But you'll see that sort of style of stepping back and getting out of the way done by Liam in a later video.
As I was saying, I've only actually trained sabre a handful of times. So is there much of a crossover in styles? Because obviously we're talking hundreds of years here, and we're also encompassing other things like Dussac and backsword and Scottish basket hilted.
I'll go for broadsword.
Broadsword.
Who knows what you call it?
They're all a sword, aren't they? Matt Easton's always gone on about that and said it's a sword. It doesn't matter what it is. We don't need to label it too much. Obviously, yeah, you've got double-edged and curves, and
it's all about the curves. It is all about the curves.
Katanas.
The curvier, the
we won't mention
better
Japanese katanas. But so, is there an obvious, when you see someone, can you say, "Oh yeah, they train in this style or that style," or can you pick that up?
That is the dream, isn't it? At least for myself, to have trained to the point where I could do something and somebody say, "You're doing that style." That'd be yes, success. But there's all sorts of stuff that transfers across, isn't there? Because there's only so many ways you can hit somebody with a piece of metal while not being hit yourself.
Yeah, it's a metal bar with an ape at the other end of it, and we're all the same, and it's just wielding it into. Okay, then. So all in all, what do you think of that match then?
That was interesting because, like I say, there's styles there that I'm not used to, and it's always good to see things done differently from as you used to, because it's boring if everyone's the same. But it's also good to see people using sabres.
Yeah.
Because everyone does longsword. Why did they do that?
Longsword's good. Longsword's great for getting in and just really, throwing your weight about. Sabre, well, I actually, like I said, I've only done it a few times. I quite enjoy rapier. I'm really loving rapier and dagger.
Love to do rapier properly.
Yeah.
But I am not an athlete. You have to be good. You have to be hard to do rapier.
You have to be quick, and I'm not quick. I'm not as quick as I would like to be.
Unless we could do some sort of Spanish destreza rapier, the one where they stand very, very straight upright and just have the arm straight out. No mad lunges like the Italian styles or any sort of weird, cooped up little shapes that they do.
Well, that's what I said. Because the one that makes the advance, the attack, is usually the one that loses there. Because you counter, riposte.
It's that great argument, isn't it? Of do you wait and be the person have it done to, or do you get in there first? I think
I suppose it always depends on who you're up against, doesn't it?
It depends on what you've planned and what you thought the opponent has planned.
Right. So, thank you, Philip. I'm going to end this one.
It's probably best,
and then we'll move on to the next one. See you all soon. Thanks for watching. Head over to the next review video or leave a question in the comments below.